I don't really have a cue for two, but this is the bottle, this is the product that we're going to be looking at. You may or may not have seen it before. So my name is Lucas Danovic. I work for IBHL, which is the parent company for Caorunn Gin, and I'm speaking to you tonight or today from Edinburgh, the capital city of Scotland, so all the way across the pond. Caorunn, Scottish, handcrafted Scottish gin. So this is what we're talking about. And I'm going to share my screen really quickly just to show you a couple of slides. Nothing too arduous, nothing too heavy, but really just a cue in some of the things that we'll talk about. So pronunciation, Caorunn, you can see it straight away. This is our logo. This is who we are. Now, this is the landscape that we're in, and the man in the photo is Simon Bewley. This is our gin master, and actually what he's doing in the photo is he is collecting botanicals by hand from the surrounding areas, from the hills surrounding Balmenic Distillery. So this is how it happens. We hand forage, hand pick some of the botanicals right around the distillery. Where we are is here. I'm not expecting you to be experts on Scottish geography, but this is way up north in Scotland in the Speyside region. So you will know this from your single malt associations, from your big single malt whiskey brands. And in fact, Balmenic Distillery is a single malt whiskey distillery operating since the 1820s. But in 2009, they started making gin as well. They have a separate, small, handcrafted, very hands-on, very tiny gin plant on site. So since 2009, we celebrated 10-year anniversary last year, all the way up north in Scotland. That's where we are. In terms of the process, I mean, we could go on for an hour, for 2 hours about our process. It's quite unique, it's quite interesting. But if I have to give you an elevator pitch about it, if I can just say one thing about it, I would say, remember the copper berry chamber. And this may be quite interesting for you because we think this piece of kit was actually manufactured in the United States of America, somewhere on the East Coast, and it was used in the 1920s. They say it was used for extracting essential oils, and I think we all know that in the 1920s, we all know what that means. This piece of kit eventually made its way over to Scotland, probably in the 1960s, and since 2009, we have been using it for infusing our gin with flavor. This is 100% vapor infusion. Okay, so we layer these trays, we line these trays with our botanicals, they're perforated, we diffuse alcohol vapor into these trays, they pass through the botanicals and pick up the flavor. So 100% vapor infused in this absolutely, completely unique copper berry chamber. It's a unique design. We are the only gin to use it, and it has a fantastic history. It's 100 years old. This is the setup in its entirety. You can see the copper berry chamber on the right-hand side. It's a tiny setup. This is all there is to it. There is nothing else off the shot. So it's a tiny little hands-on, handcrafted gin and hands-on operation, and it's operated by one man. So as you can see, it doesn't get much more craft than this. And obviously, you can't really talk about botanicals without, or you can't talk about gin without talking about botanicals. Okay, so Caorunn gin, made in Scotland, but it's a London dry gin. So we all know what this means. There's no added sugar, there's no added flavorants. It's made with neutral alcohol, and it's juniper based. So these 6 traditional London dry gin botanicals form the backbone of it. This is what we all know. This is what the consumers expect. And this is the basis for the character. So juniper berries, obviously. Second by weight would be coriander seeds. Then we have the traditional sort of citrus peels, orange peel, lemon peel, and then angelica root as a binding agent, and cassia bark in very, very small quantities. But what we really love, what we're really passionate about and really interested in talking about are these 5 Celtic or Scottish botanicals that we handpick around the distillery. So Caorunn, actually in Scots Gaelic, in the language used in parts of Scotland, means rowan berry. There are those little red berries that you find all over Northern Europe, and you find them in North America as well. They are toxic to you when raw, but once boiled, the toxins are gone, and they have a pleasant, so quite astringent, sweet, sort of fruity character. So rowan berry is something that goes into the gin, and it's picked right around the distillery. Heather, there's nothing more Scottish than heather. Right about now, end of September, is when heather is in full bloom. So if you travel to the Highlands of Scotland, well, obviously you can't right now because of the situation, but if you were to travel to the Highlands of Scotland right now, the hills are completely purple from from the heather. So it has a beautiful, very sort of perfumed, very pronounced floral character. You've got bog myrtle, which is quite delicate, quite sort of quite piney, quite sort of sappy. Then you have dandelion leaf, which is an interesting, unique sort of fresh aroma. And then the fifth one, the last one, is the cold blush apples. They're interesting little apples. They were specifically created to grow very far north in Europe. They are the farthest or the northernmost growing apple in Europe. They're quite interesting. Once again, they're quite astringent. They're very fresh. They're quite zingy. And because of that association with apple, because we use apples as one of the botanicals for the perfect serve, we actually use slices of red apple with the perfect serve. And this is how Caorunn became popular here in Scotland. This is how it became popular in the United Kingdom. And this is what we're now exporting to other markets and to other regions. It's this sort of G&T perfect serve with a slice of red apple, which works incredibly well for us. It just really brings out this sweetness, it brings out this sort of beautiful, clean, crisp character. Now, if I was to describe Caorunn style in just very, very simple terms, I would say it's elegant, it's balanced, it's super, super crisp, and it's definitely something, it's definitely a gin that lends itself well to, it lends itself really well beyond G&T, into cocktails, into short cocktails, into the scenarios, into the recipes, into the situations where you really need the gin character to stand out. What we have, just to finish off, we have a very quick message from Scooby Olivier, a start bartender who prepared a little drink for us. Please cue the video and enjoy. Thank you very much, Scooby, and thank you very